Welcome to the University of Arkansas System Division of Agriculture here in Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm Lee Riley, Program Associate with the Crop, Soil, and Environmental Science Department for the University of Arkansas System Division of Agriculture Cooperative Extension Service. Thank you for joining us today for our 13th webinar in the Arkansas Conservation Partnership Series, funded by USDA's Natural Resource Conservation Service in Arkansas and hosted by the University of Arkansas System Division of Agriculture. Today we'll be hearing from Debbie Moreland with the Arkansas Association of Conservation Districts. If you are watching live on Zoom, you can submit your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. You will have some options down there, but please be sure you're clicking on the Q&A box. If you click on the chat box, we might not see your question, and we want to make sure everybody gets the opportunity to answer any questions they have. So let's make sure that you put the questions in the Q&A box. All right. Debbie Moreland is the chairman of the Pulaski County Conservation Districts and has served as the district director since 1992. Debbie is serving as in her 20th year as AACD program administrator. Debbie's tenure with AACD even includes a term as president. She has served as chair of the Water Resource Committee for the National Association of Conservation Districts. Debbie has a bachelor's degree in nursing from University of Arkansas for medical science. Debbie also serves as a broker and owner of Pinnacle Realty Incorporated, which specializes in farms, ranches, and rural property. Debbie has worked with the Natural Resource Conservation Service on a long list of conservation initiatives over the years, and some of the awards she has received include the National Association of Conservation District Outstanding Conservationist, Friend of Conservation for the Arkansas Soil and Water Conservation Conference, and the Arkansas Partnership Award. Debbie and her husband owned and operated Moreland and Son Farms for 35 years. Prior to that, it was her husband's family farm, and they raised soybeans and wheat on their operation west of Little Rock, north of Pinnacle Mountain along the Arkansas River. And today, Debbie's going to tell us all about AACD, how they serve our communities, and about their partnership with NRCS and some of the other state and federal entities. And remember, if you have any questions, to use that Q&A box, and we'll try and answer all of your questions towards the end of the presentation. With that, Debbie, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, Lee, thank you. We really appreciate the opportunity to talk about the conservation districts. A lot of people are not as familiar with the conservation district if they're not involved in an ag operation. But the conservation districts actually offer something for everybody. Conservation districts came out of an effort by Hugh Hammond Bennett in 1937 in the Dust Bowl. At that point, they realized how important it was to recognize the need to build up our soils and what could happen if it didn't. So at that point, men in Arkansas on their own nickel had to go to DC, and they worked to get Congress to pass legislation allowing the creation of conservation districts. Arkansas actually has the very first conservation district law that was written in the nation. Now, due to some timing, they did allow Bennett County to actually be called the first district because it was named after Hugh Hammond Bennett. But in reality, Arkansas was the very first one to have conservation district law and to create. We have conservation districts that their creation papers are signed by Hugh Hammond Bennett, and those reside in the archives at the Capitol. Now, why do we need conservation districts? Well, NRCS is a federal agency. It used to be called the Old Soil Conservation Service, but then that was changed. But the only way that they could work in a local community was that you had to have some sort of local entity there to work with them. So conservation districts became that local arm. So NRCS is allowed to come into a district and to serve the landowners of there because of that partnership. Most of our conservation districts are housed with NRCS. Some of them are housed also with FSA. We try to make it as convenient as we can for farmers when they sign up for things, but the reality is now when you start talking about large sums of money, or you start talking about people's ownership of their lands, many of our farms have multiple owners. It does take some time to get everything worked out, because you have to have all the correct entities that are involved in a piece of property. We have also done, we continue to work with our traditional partners, our traditional landowners. We also work with non-traditional. We have seen more and more folks are coming in because they want high tunnels, they want specialty crops, and so we have had to be a little more diverse. So now you want to know, how do conservation districts, how do we determine who gets to serve on these boards? There are 5 members on every conservation district board. There are 75 counties, so you have 75 districts. You have 3 board members that are elected. We have an election. A third of the districts have an election every year. So we had 25 elections this year. We'll have 25, another 25 next year, and so on until all 75 have elections. We rotate them to ensure that there's always an institutional knowledge so that we don't just start fresh for any particular reason. The 3 elected ones, we post that in January that there's an election coming up. Anyone can vote so long as they are a resident of that county, and they obviously are citizen of the United States. They can go in, but you must be a resident in that county to vote in that particular election. Now, if you own, so our 3 elected must also live in that county. They can't live elsewhere. So now we have our 2 appointed. The 2 appointed come as a result of the 3 elected. The 3 elected are what we call our governance committee. And they actually look around and they select folks from their community that continue to have the same interest in soil and water. And it's a wide variety. We used to just target soil and water. Now we do far more than that. We look at things like irrigation management. We look at forestry. We look at even air. There's all sorts of things that we look at. Anything that is a natural resource, then we take that into account. Now, so your three members of your governance committee appoint, or they submit the names for the 2 appointed ones. And then once they're appointed, they all take an oath of office. It is an election, just like an election for county judge or an election for city clerk or county clerk. It is a county election. They have legal responsibilities and they have to take an oath of office. All of that is kept within the office. They send the results to the Secretary of State so that way, because it is an official election, all of that is housed then at the Capitol. Okay, so what they do is next we say, okay, who do they work with besides, why do you need partners? Well, we find that there's a lot of times we have to have folks that can help us do different types of things. And these are the list of the original partnership founders. And that has been in place since 1991. And then it has grown from that. We brought on new partners. But originally, you can see all the partners that have been brought on have been people that are concerned about agriculture, conservation, and that type of activities. Whether it be, whether we're looking at flooding rice fields for waterfowl, whether we're looking at enhancement of water usage, groundwater decline is a big issue. We have to have different partners for different things. Not every partner works on every project. But what we do find is that we partner on, we have certain things that we identify the priorities for that year. We have 3 priorities that all of us say that we will work in some way for those areas. And then we go from there. Then the next thing is, all right, well, how do you determine what you're going to target in that county? As you know, Benton County is dramatically different. They have rapid urban sprawl. They have water quality issues that they have to deal with all the time with Oklahoma, whereas in Deshae County, it's dramatically different. If they get into Lono County, it's dramatically different. Some of them have those things like nutrient runoff. Some of them have groundwater decline. Some of them have, flooding issues. So we have what's called locally led work groups. And we do this once a year. Everyone is invited to come. If you have an interest in it, all you have to do is contact your Conservation District office, tell them that you would like to be invited to the locally led work group. And then what we do is that we typically, they do it in different ways. Some districts do it where they maybe bring you in over lunch, you discuss it, you talk about some things. If you're uncomfortable talking publicly, you can always write out like a little survey thing and say, these are the resource concerns that I'm concerned about on my farm or my operation. And then at that, maybe feral hogs is your problem. Somebody else, it might be something different. So we do that. Then that information is then compiled. They take all of that together and they say, okay, now we're going to send that up to the state office, the state NRCS office, the Natural Resource Conservation Service. Their staff looks at it, and then we get a certain amount of money from DC. And we say, how do we appropriate that money? We have numerous programs. We have EQIP, which is Environmental Quality Incentive Programs. We have CSP, Conservation Stewardship Program. We have numerous different projects. We determine what each one of them, and we have a certain amount that's designated for different things. 10% for wildlife. Then we break it out in different areas so that we can be sure it's 10% for forestry. And so that way we can be sure that we try to make sure there's funding for each one of the resource concerns that are identified in the state. The other thing the locally led work group does, they identify the questions for the ranking, because you have to say, okay, who's going to get funded? Last year we had well over 4,000 applications. We cannot fund that many. Even with that, we had $181 million that was provided to landowners in the state of Arkansas. That's number 2 in the nation. That is no small thing, but it does lead to help people understand how long the process is to get funded and how hard these people have to work to get that many people's applications and efforts done. Now, I know to many people, they feel like that our process is slow. They feel like that it could be faster. We've tried programs like Act Now, where we could take maybe some applications that had already been in the cycle but didn't make the ranking before. So that way we could speed some things up. So we look at different programs and we say, okay, how can we do that? How can we make it faster? There's only so many ways you can do it, because we are bound to whatever the Farm Bill says or whatever that initiative is. Now, we have gone out and numerous times over the years, we did the Mississippi River Basin Initiative. We've done the Groundwater Decline Initiative. We've done the Cover Crop Initiative. We did the Drought Initiative. And so that's one of the ways that we go to say, how can we get an extra pot of money to help address a specific need? And so that's some of the things that we do. Now, having said that, if you feel like that you have a need, invite your DC or your Conservation District folks to come out on your farm. Have them come out there, or your operation. Maybe you have a high tunnel. University of Arkansas has just put out a guide for high tunnels, which is extremely beneficial, and it is available online. So you can get a copy of that. So there's numerous different ways that we can do, that we can help the landowners out there. We do have some conservation program. We have a little book that's conservation practices, that in that book, it shows you a picture of what the conservation practice is going to look like. It shows you exactly what resources it's going to address. Because a lot of times our farmers come in, they don't know what practice we offer that they need, but they can go through that book and they can say, okay, that's what I'm looking for. I need fencing. I want to do rotational grazing, or I need a flow meter, or I need a stacking shed. So they can go through this book and they can say, that's what I need. Now, typically, what we try to do is we try to say, let's look at a system. Don't look at just one. Like maybe if you have a high tunnel, there are things that you can get with high tunnel, micro irrigation. Now we're offering a mechanism to catch the rainwater that comes off of the high tunnels that can be used then back in the high tunnel. Because as you know, rain can't get into the high tunnel. And so you've got to have a way to make sure you get that moisture into those plants. That has become one of our number one conservation practices, because we do have a lot of people in Arkansas doing specialty crops. And people tend to think that that's always in urban, but it's not. It's that we find them that they're scattered all over. Specialty crops are a big part of Arkansas agriculture. We have a lot of that. We have one producer down south, 1,500 acres. We have tomato producers. There's all those folks out there that they have different needs. They have to know, and that's where we fall back on some of our things. We fall back on our county agents. We go to extension and we say, okay, we've got a farmer over here that for whatever reason, his soybeans are starting to look yellow. What's going on? And the county agent can come out, they can do some tests, they can look at it, they can send it off, and they can help that producer. So we can offer some conservation practices, but on some of that knowledge with regards to the care of the plants themselves, that's where you look to your county agent. FSA, you look to FSA if you're wanting to look at funding. Before you can do anything on any of our programs with NRCS and with the districts, for the most part, you have to go to FSA first. That's the Farm Service Agency. You go to them, you take your deed with you, and they assign you a farm and tract number. You have to have that before you can apply for any of the NRCS programs. Simply because we have to determine, do you own that piece of property? If you do not own that piece of property, have you been given legal authority? Have you been assigned legal authority to operate that farm? And so there's certain things, and that's to protect the landowners. If you are we have some property, they call it heirs property, and that's where perhaps the property had not been probated. And so as a result, it's not real clear who exactly owns the property. So they have passed laws and have put provisions in place that there's even a way to work with that. So that, because what it is, if you cannot provide that clear title or that assignment, you cannot get any kind of program. So with the heirs property program, we work with UAPB on that one. It's called Keeping It in the Family. And on that one, they're able to work with them so that they can say, okay, what do we need to do to help you either clean up your title, or what do we need to do to help you get an assignment so that maybe you do have cousins that live someplace else. They don't farm, they're not interested in farming, but they're not willing to give up their property. And perhaps you don't have the mechanism to be able to buy them out. So what I would say is go visit with FSA first, find out what your farm and tract number is, then go visit your conservation district office and your NRCS people, and you go in there and you say, I'd like for somebody to come out on my farm and talk to me about what conservation practices I might be able to do on my property. Maybe you need an irrigation reservoir. We have funding for that. Also with irrigation reservoirs, that's expensive. That's one of those things that you can go to Arkansas Department of Agriculture and Natural Resource Division. We have an agricultural loan program that you can get low interest loan to help build that. And you also want to apply for the tax credits. Both of those are provided through the Natural Resource Division. The secret to them is you get that approval before you start any work at all. Because once you turn the soil, then we can't fund it, we can't approve it. So you go to your conservation district office, tell them, here's what I want to do. I want to see about one of those ag loan programs. I want to see about tax credits. And then they will help you work your way through all of that. The next thing you want to do is, okay, now your DC's come out. They've said, okay, we filled out your application. We've got it where we're going to send it up there. And then they come back and say, okay, you've ranked. You can have the money to do what you need to do. And typically you have a certain length of time. Usually it's 3 years. You can make your contract shorter, but it's usually 3 years to get it done, because we realize sometimes one of the things we have to do now is if you're doing something that disturbs the soil, you have to have a cultural resource assessment. And so we have to send an architect out to look at it to be sure that there was not an Indian burial ground or something of that nature. So that has to be done first. These things do take time, but they must be done to protect you in the long run. So then once that's done, and then you're given the go-ahead to get started, you've got your ag loan program in place, or maybe you went to Farm Credit and you got your loan there. Farm Credit also looks at those things to say, we feel like anything that you're doing that improves the property, then at that point that benefits the value of the land. So as a result, it makes it a better result for them in the long run to make sure you're enhancing and improving that property continually. Okay, so then you have the process of getting started. We don't do cost share. What we do is we do payment rates. We say, okay, we're going to give you so much a linear foot to build that fence, or we're going to give you, and then at that point, and it is, some of our programs are 75% cost share, some of them are 60, some of them are 50-50. But the thing that you have to remember is if you got one of the ones that say it's 60-40, your 40%, a lot of that can be done in kind. If you're using your equipment, you're using your labor, if you're providing certain things. So some of it can be in kind. It's not necessarily all of it cash out of hand. We realize that our farmers right now are having a very difficult time with commodity prices, with tariffs, with the weather. It's very difficult. And so anytime they can do things that they can improve their property and not take what few resources they have is critically important. We've always said that our partnership for the core partnership is we have the University of Arkansas Division of Agriculture, we have NRCS, the conservation districts. That's the three-legged stool. We look to the university to provide that research. We need to know that when we go out and we recommend something to our producers, that we know that it's science-based and it's unbiased. Then when we offer them funding, anything program we offer is voluntary. It's voluntary, and we provide financial incentives. No one in our department, the conservation districts or NRCS, is going to force any landowner to do anything. Our role is to help you help yourself. So we have that. Now, some of the programs that are available through this partnership is we have all sorts of things. Feral hogs. Feral hogs are a big problem in the state. That has been, we have a feral hog task force. We have passed certain types of, we're hoping to get it in the Farm Bill. We did get a feral hog initiative. We had a pilot program where we could hire technicians. I think Game and Fish provided some funding from the state, got it from the state legislators to buy some traps. We met again recently because we feel like we're probably going to get some more money, and we're hopeful that we do, because what we find is we're never going to eradicate feral hogs. There's too many of them, they breed too fast, and they spread too fast. We also have a lot of U.S. forest land. We also have other public lands where they can go on to. And so we know we can't eradicate them, but we hope to contain them, because the amount of damage that they can do to plantation pines, to specialty crops, to cornfields. I mean, there is no natural predator for feral hogs. Humans are the only thing that can really do anything with them. And what we find is just going out and shooting them and hunting, while people might enjoy that as a hobby, it does not help with the containment. That requires the trapping, and that requires that they have to be dealt with right then in the trap so that they cannot continue to breed and to spread. So we're hopeful to get this new funding. We're being told that that hopefully will come down soon, but our current program ends in September. We also have a feral hog fencing program that if you have something that a specialty crop, if you have a commercial hog farm, and you need something to help you keep feral hogs away from yours, we do have a grant program for that. You need to contact the Conservation District office. Let them know that you'd like to talk to Alice Weeks about the feral hog fencing. They will come out, they'll visit with you, they'll see about helping you get the funding. We just finished our first one down on a huge specialty crop farm in Ashley County because they continued to tear up all of his specialty crops. Okay, another one that we do is an alliance grant. It's called Advancing Markets for Producers. And that one is done in 6 counties right now because it is an initiative, and they're done in East Arkansas. Now, the thing to remember is all of these programs, the practices that are offered are NRCS practices. Everything in there, it might be cover crops, it might be tree and shrub, it might be, there's all sorts of things, the NRCS programs, maybe it's prescribed burns, but they're all NRCS practices, which means that they have been researched, they've been tested, and they've been approved, And so we pick out which one of those practices best fits that program. And so that's another one that if you're in it's St. Francis County, Arkansas County, we're expanding that to hopefully to Prairie and to Lone Oak, Drew County. And so we're continuing to try to spread that across county, trying to spread it as much as we can. Now, the other thing conservation districts do, and sometimes I appreciate the fact that sometimes people say, well, I didn't know you were going to do that. Nobody told us. What I would tell you to do is I would encourage you to contact your conservation district office and tell them, add my email address to your list, so that when you send out notices about field days or programs or opportunities, that I get it. If you don't want it, delete it. But that's the only way that I know that you can stay involved in it, because programs literally come out every week. Something comes out every week, and not everything's going to apply to everybody. But if you will tell your district employee to add my email address or to give me, here's my phone number. I don't do email. A lot of our producers don't use the internet. A lot of them don't use emails. That's fine. Just give her your address and your phone number and say, I want to be contacted when you have any field day, maybe on grazing management. Tell her what it is that you're interested in. Maybe you want to see something on irrigation management, water usage, those types of things. And then that way they'll know to contact you, because it's virtually impossible for us to know from our offices of who all might be interested in what programs that we're doing. So those field days, typically they last a half a day. Normally what we do is we have people come in, we have presentations, we do field tours out into the, like there's one coming up right now in Rich Mountain, that they will go out into the fields and they'll look at some pastures. They'll talk about the fencing. They'll talk about the watering facilities, how to set those up so that you can keep your cows out of the creek. They will talk about different, or maybe you have a pond and that you need to have it built in so that the cows can get access to the pond but not get out in the middle of them, so that way it doesn't disturb the water quality of the pond. Maybe you need a new pond on your farm. Maybe your old pond is full of sediment, is no longer functional. You need to contact them about seeing about the construction of a new pond. Okay, the other thing is some districts even do, a lot of them do newsletters, ask to be put on their mailing list. Some do podcast. Again, contact your district office, let them know what you'd like to have from them, and go from that. Some of the initiatives, like in 2012, a lot of people remember the drought. Right now, the drought is not as severe as it was in 2012, but in some areas it's pretty bad. And we have to remember that really impacts people that are producing hay for their livestock. Some folks will have to end up selling off livestock simply because they can't carry them through the winter due to lack of hay. So drought really does impact a lot of things. Our farmers in East Arkansas, when you have a drought, you have two things. One, you can have a drought, and then in that case, you're having to use an excessive amount of water. Many times that's groundwater, simply because they don't. Now, some of them pull from the rivers. We have two big irrigation and drainage districts that are going in to help with that in the long term. The Biomeda Irrigation and Drainage District and the Grand Prairie Irrigation and Drainage District. And those are going to be built with huge canals. One of them's pulling out of the Arkansas River, so that they take that and try to send that out so the farmers can pull directly out of that, so we can reduce our dependence on groundwater. We do find that we have cones of depression in certain parts of the state due to the excessive amount, but you can't grow rice without water. And so they have to have that water, and when you have drought, it does that. Now, this year we've been lucky. We've had lots of rains, but sometimes that doesn't work out. We have another program when the tornadoes came through. For instance, here in Little Rock, it came through Rock Creek and Chenal Parkway, and it destroyed an area in there that was walking trails and things like that. Then up in Lake City, anytime you have a natural disaster, we have a program that's called the Emergency Watershed Program. Now, what that does is that doesn't go in and make farmers whole or anything like that, but it does say our goal is to get debris out of the waterways so that they can clear it up so the water runs, so it reduces the impact of possible flooding. There is WRP as a program that some producers are taking advantage of, and that's Wetland Reserve Program. And on that one, what you look for is a piece of land that perhaps the landowners reach the age they no longer want to farm, they don't want to sell it, they would like to put it in something back somewhat similar to what it was before it was farmed. And so they enter into an agreement, conservation easement with NRCS. And then at that point, depending on whether it's perpetual or it's 15 years or whatever, then what you do is they come in and then they have their engineers lay it out, and then they plant the trees, maybe it's grasses, whatever it is, they do all of that. Then we also have CRP. Now, CRP is another program that a landowner, perhaps that they have some land they want to lay out. It's highly erodible land. It's not something that's particularly a good producing piece of property. So they can do it, and that's continuous reserve program, and that's where they go in and they plant trees. And then if they provide this maintenance on these trees, they're paid a yearly payment. Now with WRP, you're given a cash payment up front. They pay you so much an acre. There's an appraisal process. So everything that's done, even though it's voluntary, there are incentives for each one of those programs. Now, another program we have is called Restore Arkansas. Now, in this one, it's about planting trees. That's one that it was an RCPP. It's ongoing right now. We had hoped to get 1,800 acres. We currently have 19,000 acres where people asked to be involved. It's one that you enter into the planting of the trees, but you also have the option of having someone buy your carbon credits. Again, they're separate. It's two separate companies. It's where a private entity wants to buy your carbon credits so that they can be sure that that stays enforced and they can benefit from that. Now, some of the other things that conservation districts do is we do programs with youth. One of the programs we do is Envirothon. It's for high school students. We do it once a year. They come in, they have different categories: soil, water, agriculture, forestry. And what it is, the kids, wildlife, kids go through each one of the stations, they're tested. They have one area that's a special topic, and they have to come up with a solution. What was that special topic? What was it about? What was the situation? And how would they solve it? And then those kids, if they reach 75% on all the tests, if they win the contest and they get 75%, then they get sent to a national meeting. They just held a national meeting in Calgary, Canada, and we're hoping to get that. We've just hired a new person, new coordinator to handle that, and we're hoping to get that one. Last year was held at the U of A, Fayetteville on the farm. And so we're going to continue to hold those on a university because we like the idea of our students getting exposed to college life. We need them to get past that thing of thinking it's too overwhelming. They can go up there, they can see it, they can be involved around it, and hopefully that will encourage them to go into maybe a career in ag. The other one we do is we do a forestry clinic. Now, the forestry clinic we tend to do down in the southwest area where we have most of our forest. And on that one, the students, these are high school teams that come in. They can be 9th through 12th. And what they do is they have a kind of a map that they have to go through these woods, and they have to determine the diameter of the trees. They have to identify the trees. And this one is targeted towards students that perhaps want to, that maybe they have forced family land. Maybe they have, they thinking about a career in forestry. So that's for students that do that. They have the team that wins. We have plaques for the first, second, and third. And then the students are they're judged individually, and the high score winners win a cash prize. And typically we do have that down. I think next year might be in Camden. We've had it at DeGray Lake. We've had it at Ashdown. And so that's another one that's good. The Conservation District also offers scholarships. Every year we have what's called the Dave Ferguson Scholarship. It's a common theme. Right now, we follow the theme for NACD. That's our national organization, the National Association of Conservation Districts. Each year comes out with an educational theme. And right now, it's Habitat is Where the Home Is. And then what the students do is they do an essay saying why they feel that way, how they feel like the conservation districts can help them improve their home and their habitat. And then they're judged at the local level. They might win a scholarship at their district. Then it goes to the area. They might possibly win a scholarship at the area. And then it comes to the state. And then at the state, they can win another scholarship. First place, $1,000. Second place, $500. Okay, now, when we talk about you've applied for an application and you are waiting and you want to know why did my neighbor get funded and why did I not get funded? Okay, sometimes it has to do with how you prepared your application. Did you mention how it would improve something for wildlife? Did you talk about the fact that maybe it improved water quality? Sometimes it's because of the things that you maybe didn't mention. So what you want to do if you're not sure, go in and sit down with your district conservationist and say, I'm not sure that I'm hitting all the points here. Those are all things I care about, but this form is, I'm not used to this form. I don't know how to fill it out. I need your help. And so sit down. We also have technicians in there that can help. So many of our district employees can help. So if you're not sure, go in there and sit down with them and say, I'd like for somebody to work with me to make sure that I'm not overlooking something. Many times it's because they didn't fill out it's just some little something they didn't fill out properly. Maybe they didn't, a lot of times it's very simple, silly things when you look at it, but it's something that if you have somebody kind of say, you forgot to mark something here, or you need to check that box over there. So, you want to make sure you do that. Now, talking about some of the successes of all the different things that we do as a partnership, one of the ones that I'm very proud of is our Arkansas Discovery Farms. The Discovery Farms, we have them scattered throughout the state. We have them with poultry producers. We have them with dairy farms. Bill Hawk up in Benton County has a dairy farm, Discovery Farm. We have Jeff Marley there in Elkins who has a poultry operation. Done significant research there about runoff because he backs up to the White River. We've got one down in Deshay County that was Steve Stevens, that he was probably one of the first. And what it is with our Discovery Farms, we go in and we visit with the producer, and it's voluntary. Again, always voluntary. And we say, okay, let's look at what the issue is. You've got nutrients running off your farm. Well, that sounds bad, but nutrients are nothing more than fertilizer. You've got fertilizer running off your land and Steve Stevens, once he said, well, if I've got something that's running off my property that's running into the stream and it's not supposed to be, I need to know that. So then we started working with him. Well, here's some practices. You can use cover crops. Cover crops will help hold the water onto the land. And after year 3, he said, I didn't realize it, but every time nutrients run off my property, that's money running off my property. And he said, I don't want that. I want whatever I put out, I want it to stay on the land because it means I have less. He has done an outstanding job with his Discovery Farm. We have a new one that's a forestry Discovery Farm that is down in Camden. That's Dan Rowe. He has done an outstanding job with his Discovery Farm. It's one of those forestry farms where you've got part of it is original virgin forest, part of it's managed, and part of it is probably not as managed because it's been something that's acquired over the years. But it's really interesting to see what they can do with that of saying, okay, if we implement prescribed burns, that's a big, big practice with our forestry folks. Forestry, they also build fire breaks. When you get down in that area, wildfire is always a concern, but we have all sorts of programs that are just for forestry. And so that's his. Then we have a new one that we're looking at right now that we're hoping to get done is a small scale Discovery Farm because we realize that not everybody's going to have hundreds of acres. That can be a Discovery Farm that's nothing more than 1 acre. And we are looking at working on one right now that's 1 acre. And it's been amazing what they've been able to do with 1 acre, that the fact that they put a high tunnel hoop house, they're getting ready to put a second one. They built an entire business off of what they do there of teaching cooking classes, selling farm products. It's pretty amazing. And so Again, what can be learned to help these producers not only improve the soil, the water, and the production? We never forget the fact that at the end of the day, if the farmer's not making money, he's not going to stay there very long anyway. So we always try to work to make sure that we keep that in mind, that production is ultimately one of the goals that we have to look at. Okay, we also, with our poultry producers, we have programs are dramatically different for them. For them, they need an energy audit. They need to know what kind of practices they need to put in place with maybe vents. Maybe they need to figure out how they're going to deal with their runoff. They have to have nutrient management plans. The Conservation District has a water quality techs that will go out and do the nutrient management plan for them and for our grazing, so that way they can be sure that they're managing their nutrients. And then that's just good. It's basically, it starts with the soil test. Our technicians go out, they do the soil test, they send it to the university tests it, and then it comes back and tells them, here's what we see in this soil. Here's what you need. Here's what you need to address. Maybe they need lime. Maybe they need something else. So it always starts, again, it goes always back to that partnership, that either we're going to NRCS for something, we're going to the university for something, or we're even going to the Department of Ag for some things. So the nutrient management plans, now having said that, I was recently told that maybe there was some kind of delay in the nutrient management plans. Wasn't aware of that, but because we have 29 water quality techs here in the state. But having said that, we never know when we're going to need it, and we only have, with 29, with as many producers as we have for both grazing and poultry, it can be somebody might have to, and then besides of which, you go out, it takes a whole day to pull all the soil tests and do all the readings. Then it's got to go down to the university for the soil test. I'm sure they're backed up too, like everybody else. And then, so it does take a little bit of time, but I would encourage people to be patient. If you know you're going to need one, start early. Don't wait till the last minute. Some of your integrators, as well as some of your funding organizations and agencies, will not fund you until you've got that. So I would suggest that people, if you're in doubt, just do that right up front and then get that out of the way. So that's one that we've worked, again, that was a success story. We were having a problem getting these water quality techs trained. We went to the U of A and said, look, we need a way to train these people faster. And we need a way that we don't have to bring them all to Little Rock to do that. So the U of A, Dr. Mike Daniels, Dr. Carl Vandiver, they came up with modules that way that technician can go in and sit down at that computer in the local district office. They can go through to the modules. Once they pass one portion, they can go to the next until they finish all of them, and then they can be certified. So that way they never have to leave their own county, and we can get them out much faster. So that was one of those areas that once we realized what the issue was, okay, we said, okay, what partner is going to be the one to help us address it? And the university did a fantastic job. Because they're the ones that have been so critical on things of helping develop the phosphorus index and so many other things that a result that's our farmers have to have those things. They have to know how much that I can apply on my land, because the cost of inputs now, you don't want to spend a dime on something more than what you have to have. Okay, Lee, I am happy to answer questions if anybody has any.
Great. Thanks, Debbie. You're a wealth of information, no doubt about it. I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge and expertise with us. And I thought I knew a thing or two about AACD, and I learned some stuff as well. I really appreciate you being here. So I am not getting a lot from the audience for questions. Let's see if I've got some questions I might prompt some of the audience to add some of their own. So you're the administrator, and you talked about how there's a board at all 75 counties. Could you give us a little more detail about that structure, like who governs those boards and what's the overarching,
well,
structure?
The conservation districts work in partnership with, they do have, the Arkansas Department of Ag Natural Resource Division does have some supervisory authority over them. but it's called Title II. And Title II spells out everything about who, what, where, and why. And conservation district directors have to have training. They're mandated by law to get training. And so that's some of the things that I do is set up training for them. We have area meetings so that they can learn about things. We have an annual meeting. I bring in folks from the U of A. I bring in folks from USGS. I bring in folks from all over to do training specific. Maybe they need training on water well registration. Maybe they need training on irrigation management. Mike Hamilton does a fantastic job and works with our irrigation technicians to provide training to them as well. So but basically they're an entity of county government. And so, but they fall under the supervision of Title II, which was that was put into place by the Arkansas legislature. And it's been in place since, I guess, it's been revised over the years, but it essentially was created in 1937.
Okay, great. So you talked a little bit about this, but could you give us a little more detail about how the programs and practices are chosen for each district? Like I know you talked about them being NRCS practices, but are you guys looking at like priority watersheds and stuff just like NRCS is?
Well, those are some of the things that take into account when you have your locally led work group. You want to know, what do you have any priority watersheds in your district, or do you have any TMDLs? Do you have any 303D streams? I mean, you want to look at all of those things, and then you also understand one of the things that districts are fortunate. NRCS appropriates a certain amount of money. Typically, it's around 200 to 250,000 to each district. And that's for them to target specific local natural resources separate from the EQIP and CSP and all that. So that $250,000 is where you can say, okay, we think that this is really important. And I know, like in Pulaski County, what we targeted our funding for, we always do that, but water quality is a big issue. Lake Maumelle, making sure that there are resources for those producers out there. Now, there's not that much ag out in Lake Maumelle anymore, and they have a huge plan for Lake Maumelle. So we decided maybe after we did that, then we may look at going over to East Pulaski County, because when you get into East Pulaski County, you do have a lot of row crop. And while our farm was row crop, it was along the Arkansas River, but irrigation management wasn't the issue for us like it is in East Arkansas, where you had groundwater decline. So we looked at practices to say, okay, we want to target the fact that we have needs with irrigation management in East Pulaski County. And so those are the kinds of things that what you do is you look at it and you say, okay, what do we need now? People think, well, Little Rock, Pulaski County, it's so urbanized. Why? Well, we have quite a few folks that do the high tunnels. We have a vineyard that we have worked with. There's a lot of people that we work with that aren't necessarily row crop. We have a lot of people that have small cow-calf operations that, are looking at either they want rotational grazing, they want watering facilities, they want those types of things. So we do have a lot of different programs besides, even though we are connected to a large city, it's not the only thing that we still have a lot of ag.
A few webinars back, we learned about the RCPP program and how that's run by some kind of governing entity. It's got to be a business corporation or something like that. Is AACD involved with any of those?
Yeah, a lot of times what I would try to do is, like, there was one, the Nature Conservancy had one they were doing with the Buffalo River. Well, what we did was we said, yes, we'll give you a support letter and we'll do that. But what I need you to do is to partner with the Buffalo District, because they're the ones that are up there. Because at the end of the day, on any program we do, you've got to have that local connection. Landowners are not going to let somebody come out of Little Rock and just come onto their farm. You've got to have somebody local that can call and say, hey, do you mind if I bring somebody with me out there to look at this? You've got to have it where they know that's somebody they know and somebody they trust. They go to church with them. They buy groceries with them. Whereas somebody out of Little Rock or DC or Dallas or whatever, they don't know them. And landowners, a lot of landowners in Arkansas are reluctant to have people on their property. So yeah, we do a lot of RCPP. The Restore Arkansas, that's an RCPP. But Yeah, we're involved in quite a few of them at different levels. Some of them it may be nothing more than a letter of support. With others, it may be that, we participate with outreach.
Great. Well, I was hoping that would prompt a few more questions. I'm
I've probably
scratching
given
my,
them more information than they
yeah,
ever
you
wanted.
did a really good job. Not in the least bit surprised.
Ah,
I I don't want to just come up with something to drag this out a little longer, but oh, we had somebody pop up that's wanting to ask a question. We'll let them see if they can get their question typed in here in a second. So, how can somebody reach out and find out about AACD and what you guys have to offer? I know you went over that a little bit in
we
your
do have a
presentation, but
website.
yeah,
If they'll Google Arkansas Association of Conservation District, it'll pop up our website. We are in the process of revamping that, but right now it's fine. You don't have any problems. You can go there. There's a districts where it shows all the districts. You can click on that, and then you can get all the contact information. You can get the board members that serve on that conservation district board. You can see those are local people. Maybe you know some of them. So you can go to our website. You can call, on the website, my number's on there. They can call me, they can email me, whatever we can do.
great. Got a viewer here that's interested if there's a program that can help them start a market, wanting farmers to sell their produce. Let's see. I'll just read what I got. Is there a program that can help get a market open, a natural grocery store on their property? Uh, they're
On
wanting
that
to,
one, I would recommend they call the Arkansas Department of Ag because they do have a program over there that is for that. I would ask for them to connect to them because they have grant money and they're always putting out, and I would ask to be put on their email list because they're always putting out grant funding that's available for that type of thing to help you with marketing, to help you with business plans. So I would reach out to them for that.
all right. So we have the one that popped up over in the chat. If you're going to ask questions, please put them in the Q&A. It's hard to monitor both of these at the same time. They've got a viewer that's got property in Jefferson. Uh, I guess they say Jefferson City. I don't know if that's meant Jefferson County or if Jefferson City might be a city in Arkansas. I'm not sure. They're wanting to know how to initiate the cutting of timber.
Now on that one, it's Jefferson County.
Yeah,
Uh,
they clarified county. Yeah.
okay, and they want well, first thing I would do is I would have somebody come out and I'd have them cruise my forest. One of the things that I found is, for the most part, our loggers and our forestry community are very good people with high integrity and character. However, many years ago, my mother-in-law had somebody come and say, "Oh, these pine trees are going to fall on your house. I can pay you this amount of money and you don't have to worry about it." And she signed the contracts. Well, the timber, she got paid 3,500 instead of the 40,000 it was worth. So you want to have somebody come cruise your timber. And what I would do is I'd call the Arkansas Forestry Commission. Every county has a county forester. I would ask them to come out and do a forestry stewardship plan or something like that that would tell you, here's what your forest is like, and here's what you can expect. They can give you the name of reputable people to cruise it. I know I've worked with many of the different ones, Green Bay Packing. There's a lot of others that I've worked with that they're very good people. I've never had a problem. If there's a problem, they always made it good. But I would start with a forestry division at the Arkansas Department of Ag and tell them you need to talk to their county forester and then let him guide you through that because they have all the names and people.
Great. Thanks again. I'm not seeing any more questions. I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up unless something pops in here real quick. Debbie, thank you again. You're always a wealth of knowledge. Thanks
Thank
for,
you for asking. We appreciate that
Mhm.
opportunity.
Yep. And I want to thank everyone for watching. Debbie, you're getting a lot of thank yous in the chat as well. Everybody's very appreciative. I want to thank everyone for joining us today for the Arkansas Association of Conservation Districts webinar. I want to thank Debbie for speaking to us, NRCS for funding this program, my colleagues here at the University of Arkansas System Division of Agriculture Cooperative Extension Service for producing and broadcasting this series. We really hope you enjoyed this presentation and learned something. Please look forward to your email and social media notifications for future Arkansas Conservation Partnership webinars. And we have podcasts that are actually really coming soon. I know I've said that at the end of every one of these webinars, but they are being turned into podcasts, and we will have those available soon. And we're working to get all of the previous videos hosted. There are some that can be found on YouTube, but we're going to find a permanent home for all of the previous recordings to make this resource available to everyone. Again, thanks to Debbie and everyone that worked so hard behind the scenes to put these together. Thanks for attending today. We hope all of you have a great day.